Welcome everybody to GoLocal Live. I'm Josh Fenton, CEO and co-founder. Hoping everybody had a great weekend and Father's Day. Little news around the world. First and foremost, let's take a look at today's schedule. We're going to go to Bolzano, Italy in 1 second, and then we're going to be having a conversation shortly thereafter with the head of school at Providence Country Day, talking about how distance learning has worked so far for that prep school and what the fall looks like for education around Rhode Island. Then at 12 noon, we'll have a conversation with Dr. Michael Fine. The number of world cases has exceeded 9 million testing positive for the coronavirus. Obviously, the total number infected are substantially more than that. And then at 1 o'clock, we'll be carrying Governor Raimondo's press briefing. But let's go to Bolzano, Italy. How are you, Rebecca Couto da Silva?
Hey, I'm great, thanks. We've got a couple sunny days after about a week of rain, so like emerging from a fog.
Let's go through some of the updates. Can Austrians come and visit Bolzano yet?
Yeah, I believe that date was supposed to have happened. They said, the media said that was supposed to have happened last week, so I think they're good to go. And that also means that everyone who lives north of Austria could theoretically cross the border, which is, you know, what a lot of people want in terms of tourism.
Yeah, the reports here, whether it's in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, or I take a peek at the Financial Times most days, all are talking about the lack of tourism in Italy and how difficult that is. Is there any sign of life that tourism is rebounding?
You know, it's really, so for example, today we have a local pool here. Oh gosh, you've got me on more panels. Let me take this off. We have a local pool here that's usually packed. And I would say it was maybe, I'd see about a third of the people. Now, it could be because we're having very strong winds and no one really wants to go out of a non-heated pool into the wind. Or it could be that people are still concerned about coronavirus. Today, I have a friend who works in Bolzano who came up and she said that down there, you really can't even breathe. It's so hot, 34 degrees, which, what is that, high 80s around?
Yeah.
And so she said it was too hot to breathe, but then you look around this pool and of course it is still working hours on a work day, but it's very sparse. I mean, in the summer to see 1 minute with no children in the pool is rare, and that's what we saw, and that's just a local pool and very local tourism. People come from Bolzano or places down where it's hotter. A lot of people locally go and they're not even going.
Obviously, in the United States, western states are getting hit hard. So is Florida, California, Texas, Oklahoma, all seeing huge increases in the number of new cases and a disproportionately high number of 20 and 30-year-olds testing high, which is, if you're going to have someone test positive, it's probably better. They're more likely to survive it in a much healthier state. What's going on with social distancing, mask wearing in Italy and in your region?
So in my region, I'm not seeing a lot of masks, only in private establishments that are enforcing it. So yeah, like I said, in a couple of weeks, we'll see if that makes a big difference or not. And so, yeah, if you go into like the produce section of a grocery store, there are people there who say, get your mask back on. Did you sanitize your hands? Wear your gloves. Now we don't need those gloves anymore to do all of the shopping, but we do need them to do things like buy produce. So when it's, you know, there are places that are enforcing it and that really makes sense. I haven't gone to see if I'm allowed to try on a shirt since the last time I did it, because when I did that was a couple days before the new order came out. But yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of masks. What you see again are the people wearing it around the chin. and people having it with them, because you can get fined a lot if you don't have it with you.
This weekend in Rhode Island, the beaches were in full bloom. It was spectacular weather in the high 80s all weekend. State officials told us last night that even though they've cut back the number of parking spots at the beaches to try and limit the size of the crowds, lots of people got dropped off, and they had at the state beaches an estimated about 45,000 people over the 2 days. Their big complaint, the state officials said, that people just weren't wearing their masks when using the restrooms, when going to the pavilions to order lunch, and that they're very, very worried about that type of behavior. You're ahead of us. Our mask, is the mask season being lost?
Well, you know what we've got too, and I don't know where you guys are on this, but we do have a lot of barriers between cashiers and clients. So, and the cashiers have to wear a mask, but it's really, one sick cashier could get a lot of people sick, one sick waiter, but it's more likely that the clients would get the staff sick. The staff are in the high risk positions. So those staff are being protected by barriers, which is nice. And so it could be that those barriers, it's not quite clear. I don't think there's necessarily a consensus on, okay, is an outdoor crowd they've got that scaling up 1 to 9, right? An outdoor crowd, an indoor crowd. But I don't see anything reliable saying, yes, it's actually this much more dangerous to eat inside versus eating outside. And so you've got inside some nice barriers to protect the staff, and then outside there's obviously much less, but then the inside places, a lot of them, the much more professionally run ones, are enforcing a kind of a mask. So yes, they are here, but not necessarily outside, not where people are free. Definitely not, if someone doesn't want to and they're outside, you don't even see a mask around the wrist or around the chin, or some people have them at the elbow or the shoulders, pull it down and stick it on. Many people, you look at them and you can think, okay, where's your mask?
So it's not mask season anymore. The number, I was looking at data this morning, the number of deaths, Italy used to rank as the #1 country for the most deaths overall from the coronavirus. Italy is now at about 34,000. Very few deaths in the last month, and now has dropped all the way to 10th in the world. Is the government pleased? Is the government still communicating about the risk, or is it, let's try and get back to normal for the summer, and especially because it's so critical to reinstate the tourism industry?
Yeah, I think that after what we saw, the devastation that we saw, any kind of restarting always has this shadow over it, like, could that happen again? And I think I mentioned briefly last time that one of these mistakes that's been reported from Italy was initially putting COVID patients in nursing homes, like in the same room without protection. And that, I don't know what percent of the problems in Lombardy were due to that really serious mistake, and what problems are due to this more spread that you'll see everywhere. But people, I would say Italian authorities, the central government, are scared. And what happens is the central government says, we're going to do it this, and it's really strict. And then people say, no. And then so the local governments say, no, that's not going to happen. And there's, geopolitically, Italy is kind of like, the region where I live has a lot of autonomous power. And so all the other regions are kind of like, well, why can't we have that too? I think we have it, and then like Sicily and Sardinia, I think, have it. And so other regions are like, hey, why are we so under the thumb of the central government? And that's been a thing, and there has been voting to become more autonomous. But now, for example, you've got Lombardy that really suffered with coronavirus, and Venice that really clamped down hard, did what it could. So now there's this whole separatist movement in Venice, not to separate from Italy, but to have the same status that Alto Adige has, which is where I live.
Right.
So coronavirus actually played with our sort of balance of power in the geopolitics. So it's, the government of Italy, it's like, oh, which government, But the central government seems very concerned. They, until 10 days ago or something, oh yes, kids are going to have 2 or 10 square meters of space. Half of the schooling is going to be done at home. They'll come in on an alternating basis. They're going to wear masks the whole time. And people are like, no, my child's not going to breathe their own carbon dioxide, for 6 hours a day. And my child's not going to breathe carbon dioxide while running on a playground. And then the local governments responded to the people and said to the state government, like, we've got huge problems with this. And so then it's like, okay, kids will have to social distance, but not wear masks in school. We'll hire more teachers, et cetera, et cetera. So there's, it's a moving target. Everything's always sort of moving. And the will from the people, I think, is to be safe without compromising our own health. Because, one thing you hear is people saying, oh, well, 10 years ago, it was normal to smoke a cigarette inside. The mask is the new quitting smoking. And it's not quite that simple, because masks protect. That's clear. I think the curves in the countries that have controlled the spread really show the effectiveness of masks. Masks also have a side effect where you're breathing your own carbon dioxide, which is a waste product. So it's not that simple. It's not as simple as banning smoking inside, banning smoking outside. There is a side effect of a mask that's not necessarily good for health, whereas a side effect of not smoking may be unpleasant to a smoker, but it's better for everyone's health.
A last area to touch on, German football is back, soccer. The Premier League in England returned this past week. What's the word on Italian soccer?
I thought it came back. I saw something about a score and a disappointment. So I think I'm sorry, I am just not the world's biggest soccer fan, so I'm not always up on that.
What are you doing in Italy? I don't even understand how they let you in.
I know. Well, until last week, I was actually homeschooling, right?
Right.
And then, but it is something too. People joke about that when I'm in Brazil too, and it's soccer night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go do something else. But yeah, I think Series A started again. Let's see. There's a game tonight. Yeah, Florence, Fiorentina, Brescia today at 9:30.
All right, we'll tune in.
Yeah,
let us know the score. Yeah, let us know the score. Last word to you, Rebecca. What should people know about what's going on in Italy?
Just that I think that keep an eye on us, right? Like, we are ahead in a lot of things, and I know that people don't like wearing masks, but look at the countries that have brought this under control, because the difference has been masks. We've actually had a lot of protests too recently, and a lot of the protests have been socially distanced protests, right? And so you see people with the masks and with the protests, and really, that really does seem to be making a difference. And I know the health professionals are saying the same thing, but I know it's uncomfortable. I know that so much of the United States is hot. I know what it's like to wear a mask in the heat, but it's the thing that's protecting everyone. If I don't go out with a mask, I could be breathing coronavirus on people. I could be an asymptomatic carrier. I have no idea, because the testing isn't that widespread. So I wear my mask when I come within a meter of someone, and I wear my mask the whole time I'm shopping, even if I don't have to. In my province, I'm going to do that, because I'm not necessarily willing to breathe on a box of cereal and then someone else touches it and then touches their face, right? That's not something that I want to spread. If I could spread a disease and reduce that spread by, I think, 70%, I'm going to do that. And that's all that wearing a mask is. As uncomfortable as it is, do it in the high impact places.
Rebecca Couto da Silva, as always, thank you so much. It is great to find out what's going on in the rest of the world. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. And for everyone else, stay tuned. 11 o'clock, the head of school at Providence Country Day talking about education. 12 noon, Dr. Michael Fine. And at 1 o'clock, Governor Raimondo with her press briefing. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Stay safe, and we'll talk in a little while.